recording. So now with that, I will hand it over to Adam and he can kick off the presentation.
All right, well, good morning, everyone, or at least it's morning here in Boston. So we're going to talk a little bit about the chemical engineering department and all of our graduate programs today, sort of geared towards our incoming or committed students. And so we'll start right into that. We'll be excited to welcome you all to Boston. So Boston is a really great place to study and work, and it's really a hub for biotech and innovation in general, and in particular in the pharmaceutical industries as well as in the battery industries and materials. But we've got really all sorts of things going on here and lots of other institutions in the area. So almost everyone doing research here in the university also partners with other faculty in other research institutions and research hospitals in the area. So it's an exciting place to study and look at doing research. We sit as the Department of Chemical Engineering inside the College of Engineering at Northeastern University. There's some quick facts about the college at large here. The college has been really growing and in prominence as well as enrollment over the past 5 to 10 years. And so we've got a lot of things, exciting things happening here. Within the chemical engineering department, we've got some more fast facts there, but I just want to point out some key folks for you. So our department chair right now is Rebecca Willits, and so she can be a point of contact when needed to resolve issues or make things happen. But really your first points of contact are either Professor Abong, if you're going to be a PhD student, or myself, if you're going to be a master's student in any of our master's level programs. We'll also have staff that will help and work with you. In particular, we have an academic coordinator, or will. We're in the process of hiring for this position, and so we expect to have that up and running no later than August. So you'll hear some communication coming in from our academic coordinator. And so the two of us are really kind of the first points of contact for MS students, and then Professor Abong and this academic coordinator for PhD students. And then Krista Robinette may also work with you, especially for PhD students if you are appointed on a TA or RA position. And so she handles the business side of the department. So we'll jump right into a little bit of information on the different programs that we have. So first, we'll talk briefly about the Process Safety Engineering Graduate Certificate. And so this is designed to cover critical skills for safe and responsible process engineering. And it is a 12-semester-hour graduate certificate that can be stacked with any of our graduate programs. And you take 8 hours in process safety and 4 in process engineering. So this is an opportunity to combine either a master's in pharmaceutical engineering or chemical engineering with an emphasis on safe process operation. You can also complete this as a standalone program, which is, as a standalone program, not eligible for co-op or internship, and it can be taken part-time as well. And so this is kind of what that looks like. So if you're interested in this certificate, then you would take electives in particular areas. And so we do have this process safety engineering for biotechnology and pharmaceutical industries available this fall, and then we'll offer another one of these 3 courses in the spring. And then you would take one of these process engineering electives, which should stack with a lot of your other research requirements or course requirements in general. So that's the certificate that we have in the department. There are other certificates throughout the university that you can also consider stacking. And so there are certificates in engineering management, as well as leadership, and then as well nanomedicine have been some of the popular ones for our students over the years. Now I'll talk briefly about our pharmaceutical engineering master's program. So this is 32 credits over 1.5 to 2 years full-time. You can do this part-time as well, and the core is split between 2 different departments. So it's run out and housed in the chemical engineering department, but 10 of your 18 semester hours of core courses come from the pharmaceutical sciences department. It's an interdisciplinary degree, and then has elective courseworks in 3 buckets: regulatory, quality statistics, and depth. And of course, you can still do co-ops and internships there. We just graduated our first class in this program because it just began 2 years ago. And so we've had our first graduates this past fall and spring, and first students completing co-op in the past year as well. The core looks like this. So we have two lecture-based pharmaceutical engineering courses in chemical engineering. So we would take those in the fall and the spring. Then there's an accompanying pharmaceutical engineering laboratory in the spring, where you would get hands-on experience with a lot of the techniques that you've been talking about in class. In PharmSci, there are two PharmSci concepts courses in the fall semester. You could take them both at the same semester, or separately. They say, basically 1 and 2 here, but you don't need one before the other. And then there's also a pharmaceutical sciences laboratory, which is offered fall and spring, and maybe in summer 1. It depends. And we also have transitional courses for this degree available. In summer 2, we have this foundational biochemistry for pharmaceutical engineering course taught through PharmSci, which is available if you don't have a background in biochemistry and molecular biology and want to get some basic knowledge before trying to go into these PharmSci courses. We also have a transitional mathematics course offered in the fall through chemical engineering. If you don't have a differential equations background or haven't taken differential equations courses coming in this summer, then you may need to do this to really help you progress in our engineering courses. Okay, so that was our PharmSci program, and then I'll talk briefly now about our chemical engineering master's and PhD program structures. So within the master's in chemical engineering, we have 3 concentrations. The first 2, biosystems and sustainability, are both coursework based. So these are not research intensive concentrations. So you're going to do 32 semester hours of coursework. This doesn't mean you can't do research in these concentrations. Just like an undergraduate student could, you could still do research on a volunteer basis with faculty in the department or beyond. And you can also, for 12 or up to 4 semester hours of electives, you can do a directed study for research credit, even through a faculty member, any faculty member, right? That's going to take you on and work with you and teach you and train you up. So the focus here is really advanced specialized knowledge in these two areas. You can still do a little bit of research if you want. But if you really want to do research, then we really want you to take our what we call principles and applications concentrations, which has both thesis and project options. And so the thesis there, you will do 8 semester hours, 4 of project, and then 4 of thesis. And you'll take additional courses such as our PhD level graduate seminar course and do a thesis defense and publish a thesis document at the end of your time. All right, so that's a formal publicly available publication that comes to the university. And so there's a thesis committee that evaluates your progress and passes you or not. So that's sort of the master's program here. It's designed by default to be up to 2 years as a full-time student, not doing a co-op, but you can cut that down to 1.5 years, and it can be taken part-time, and it is possible to do still co-ops and internships. In fact, we encourage students to consider doing a co-op, and we'll hear more about our co-op programs in a bit. At the PhD level, we have still 32 total hours of coursework that are taken, but we now focus in a little bit more on the depth and the chemical engineering fundamentals. So you take 4 core courses in math, thermodynamics, kinetics, and transport, and you'll take 2 elective courses at a minimum, but really in consultation with your research advisor, you are able to take more elective courses over the years as relevant to your degree and research and that you just want to do. There's also 8 semester hours of professional development and research courses. You pass your proposal defense, ideally at the end of the 2nd year, to then become a candidate for the PhD. And then you spend the next few years working on your dissertation research, and then hopefully pass your dissertation defense at the end. And timelines on that, of course, vary on you, your research project, how things go, your advisor, But generally speaking, you're looking at 4 to 6 years if you're coming in without a master's degree. If you're coming in with a master's degree, then we do have advanced entry options to cut down on these core course requirements. So co-ops and internships are still possible at the PhD level, but they have to be planned out really well with your research advisors so that you're not interrupting your research progress too much. And that, if they're hiring you and providing you funding basically from a grant and they need grant reports due back, then they have to make sure that progress is still being made even while you might be on co-op. So things just take a little bit more planning there, consultation. You can still use electives to earn graduate certificates, like I mentioned, in process safety or nanomedicine. There is, yeah, I don't know how that got in there, but still, if you're at the master's level and you're wanting to do research, then the thesis option is really what we recommend there. That helps prepare you for a PhD program. Switching from the MS to PhD is possible, but generally happens by starting to do MS thesis work and impressing your research advisor and then wanting to hire you into their lab. And they might then ask you if you want to switch from MS to PhD. And then, so getting started for fall 2025, I'll linger here on this slide a minute, but I wanted to point out a few great resources. So the first is our new student information website from the College of Engineering. So that has a lot of really great stuff on it. Then for each incoming degree program, we have registration guidance, which can also be found on this new student information website. I'm just pointing those out explicitly. And then in addition, the chemical engineering department has a link down here for information for current students. And you can just Google resources for current students, chemical engineering, Northeastern University, it'll pop up. And then I'm gonna show you what these look like real quick. So this is our new student information page in COE. So we've got, again, this course registration here, but information on housing, transportation, setting things up, lots of stuff here. Right, and again, you can connect with myself or any of our other representatives here and our different teams that we have available to assist you. One thing you'll notice about Northeastern pretty quickly when you're here is we really have a lot of support for students, and that comes in the form of many different advising teams. And so sometimes it can be a little confusing who to reach out to, but if you just reach out to any of us, we should be able to direct you to the right person. Registration guidance might look something like this. This is a document sort of laying out recommendations for what you should register for in your first semester. If you haven't already seen this, then again, I'm just pointing this out. We have this guidance for each of our degree programs. And then our resources for current students includes, in particular, this chemical engineering graduate guidebook. So this is going to be, right now it is this current academic year's guidebook. So we'll publish an updated version sometime in August or September. But it's going to have a really lot of information on the details of our programs. So I'm not going to worry about trying to log in to Adobe right now, but that's there, and I'm just pointing that's out. So I encourage you to take a look through that, and remember that you can come back to that to look for information over the years. Okay. So some other upcoming key dates. We have our chemical engineering graduate student orientation happening on September 2nd from 1 to 5 p.m. Now, the first day of class is September 3rd, so most likely everyone is already going to be on campus or in the area ready to go anyway. But it's important to point this out that we encourage you to make sure you can attend. PhD students will also attend a separate university-wide orientation in the morning and do lunch and then switch into our chemical engineering specific orientation in the afternoon. And then we also have a College of Engineering graduate advising services and engineering welcome event on September 9th, which we'll mention again later when we hear from our GSC representative. So at this time, I've got one more section. Yes, so So a little bit about thesis and research. So if you're wanting to do a master's thesis or master's project or volunteer in a lab or do your PhD dissertation, we have really a lot of great research going on in the department. This is organized in 5 key areas. As you see here, you can explore this more on the website. And we have a lot of faculty. So this is our directly appointed in chemical engineering faculty that you see here. So we have over 25 research active faculty and growing. And we don't have our newest faculty member on here yet, because he's not officially in the department, but it'll be joining us later this year, and that'll be Hong Fei Lin. And then we also have a lot of affiliated faculty in the chemical engineering department. So these are faculty that you can still do research with, even at the MS or PhD thesis or dissertation level. And so these are faculty that are interested in or have expressed interest in recruiting our students and have recruited our students and worked with them sometimes in the past. In terms of selecting the advisor or getting matched with an advisor, our first year PhD and MS students will go through a matching process at the beginning of the fall. So we're still working through exactly how that's going to look this year. But the idea is that within a couple of months, you should generally be matched to a research advisor so that you can really hit the ground running and get started in your research work. And so watch for forthcoming communication. And of course, we'll go over the details at our orientation that I just mentioned. It's also possible that for students to have more than one research advisor, especially if you're working with someone potentially outside the department or even outside the university that might be on your committee and partial advisor. You're still going to have like a primary advisor that generally has to be one of our chemical engineering faculty, but can have also an advisor outside the department. And you can, in rare instances, request extensions to match with an advisor or switch advisors. And of course, you can check out all our faculty and their research on our webpage. Okay, so now I would like to introduce our co-op representatives. So we have Jake Walker and Marna Eccles, and I'll let them take it away and tell you a little bit more about co-op.
Sure. Good morning, everyone. Like Adam said, my name is Jake Walker. I'm one of the cooperative education faculty working with students in the chemical engineering program and pharmaceutical engineering program. Marna is also one of the cooperative education faculty. We work with the same students. So we'll just give you sort of a brief overview of co-op, and certainly at the end, if there are questions, we're happy to answer them as best we can. So, right, I think most folks know the idea behind the cooperative education program is to allow students to gain full-time professional work experience in their industry related to their majors, right? So chemical engineering and or pharmaceutical engineering. We want to help you develop a professional resume to begin with, but then also build upon that when you go out on co-op. We work with you to develop job search and interview skills, and this is through the Introduction to Co-op course students are required to take prior to going on co-op. And then the idea is that when you're on co-op, you're going to learn new technical skills, new professional skills, and build your professional network. Next slide, please. So these are just some of the requirements for co-op. Every student needs to complete 2 full semesters prior to going on co-op. You are required to have a 3.0 minimum GPA in order to be eligible for co-op. And you also can't complete a co-op experience in your final semester. You need to return to campus and complete at least 1 semester of academic coursework. There are no language requirements beyond what's required for admission to the program. And then the other big requirement is that you, which I had just mentioned, is that you need to complete the Introduction to Co-op course where we go over resumes, the application process, writing cover letters, the interview process, networking, and then sort of more information on working in your actual role, what expectations are, what it's like to work either in industry or academia. And what comes with that is you'll be assigned a co-op coordinator to work with you through the process. You'll have access to NU Works, which is our platform for reviewing and applying to co-op roles. For international students, we will help you with completing your CPT work authorization required for co-op. And we'll also help facilitate the Social Security process if you need a Social Security number prior to beginning co-op. Next slide, please. And so I believe this is just our last slide with a little bit of information on the different cycles available and some of our larger employers. So most students, graduate and undergraduate, will complete a 6-month co-op experience, and that might be the spring cycle, January to June, and you would take the intro course in the fall, or the fall cycle, excuse me, July through December, and then you would be taking the intro to co-op course in the spring semester. There are also 4-month opportunities. We have fewer of those, but they do exist. And those are typically May through August, or spring semester, January through April, or fall semester, September through December. And then in some rarer cases, there are also 8-month options where you might work January through August or May through December. And then again, these are just some of our larger employers: pharmaceutical companies, biotech, energy and sustainability companies, med device companies, some that are a little bit more traditional chemical engineering like Henkel and Integris. But again, we work with many, many more employers in addition to the ones highlighted here. So I believe that's all we have from the co-op side. And again, if anyone has any questions at the end, Marna and I are happy to answer them.
Yeah, and I would reemphasize that too. You don't necessarily have to wait to the end. You can put questions in the chat as we go along if you have questions that come up. And then we'll have the Q&A section at the end, and we can go back and take a look at the questions. So next up, we have our representative from our Graduate Advising Services. So this is Kirsten Vilas, and I'll let her take it. And I guess we also have Allison Jacobs that's joined also from Graduate Student Services. So I'll let them take it away.
Hi, everyone. My name's Kirsten, and I am the Senior Academic Advisor for what we call the departmental team when it comes to master's programs. So I handle advising for bio-e, chemi, civil, and electrical and computer engineering. I know it's a lot, but I am joined with my colleague Laura Eberly Haskell, who is the Assistant Director of Academic Advising. So if you are a master's student in the chemi program, you will be working with either myself or Laura. In addition to that, we can go to the next slide. If you are part of the PhD program, we have a dedicated team for that, which is led by our Associate Director, Allison Jacobs, and you would be working with Lucine or Romana as you go through the PhD program. So if you have master's program, you have a dedicated advisor for that. If you're in PhD, you have a PhD advisor specializing in those programs for you. You can go to the next slide. Perfect. So as Professor Eckenseer mentioned, we have a lot of different advisors and avenues to gain information. From an advising perspective, we just kind of wanted to go over the difference between the various advisors you might have. So for us as your graduate student service academic advisor, we help with issues such as registration errors that you might occur when you attempting to get into courses, issues with your degree audit, which if you haven't checked out your degree audit, it's a super helpful tool. We can definitely help you with that. Helps you see where you are in the program. If you happen to be placed on academic probation and or have any academic standing concerns, we work with you and help you with that. General questions about our forms, which you will learn later on. And if you haven't attended our virtual sessions, you'll learn more about that as you start the program. And lastly, like any general questions you might have, we don't know. If we aren't sure where to go, we'll at least help you navigate who to speak to that might have that answer. The best way to reach us is, you can see on the left-hand side, is by email, which is the COE. For master students, you can do coe-chemi-gradadvising@northeastern.edu. For PhD students, you can use the COE-PhD-gradadvising. You want to make sure that you include your NUID. That helps us answer your detailed questions a lot quicker for that. Um, Very important to use this email because it is a shared inbox and it allows us to respond in a lot in a faster capacity than through our internal emails. Um, Another concern is primary advisors. So your primary advisors will be assigned after the add drop period, typically of the courses. So sometime in probably October. Um, Whenever that happens, you will receive notification and a welcome letter from that. We'll go over other ways besides email later on how to communicate with us in the meantime. So what's between me and the difference between your faculty program advisors, such as Professor Ekensier and Professor Ibong? Well, they answer specific questions about course content. That's a really big question. We get a lot about that. Any questions about assignments and grading? They are part of the approval process for both the standard petition form and registration override forms. They can help you with any questions you might have about independent study, if you're looking at the thesis or project track, or if you're working on your dissertation as a PhD, and just general advice on course selection when it comes to career paths and areas of personal and professional interest. If you are an international student, you will also have a OGS, known as Office of Global Services advisor. So they help you with questions about your F1 student visa when it comes to compliance, any questions you have about OPT, pre-OPT, CPT, and also they're part of the process when taking a leave of absence. We definitely always recommend students to connect with OGS regardless, to make sure that with the immigration statuses changing quite frequently, that you're on the right track. Um, there, in terms of OGS, there is also other contacts, such as the Global Student Success Office, sorry, and that helps you with tutors, workshops, and webinars. That's a very helpful resources for students. And lastly, the Career Design and Employer Engagement, which offers career fairs, workshops, advising, among other very helpful tools as you navigate the, the workforce. Next slide. So they mentioned we have some upcoming events. Um, since students are not assigned primary advisors until late to after the start of the fall term, we do have virtual office hours that students can attend, both incoming and returning students. These are about a 10-minute brief interaction online through Zoom, where you can pop in and ask questions on a first come, first served basis. We have our remaining summer term office hours up here, which are next one's July 17th, 31st, and then on August 14th from 10 to 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can also see our Graduate Student Service website for the link to the web to the Zoom site, as well as I believe our fall office hours are posted too. We are having our third and last new student virtual session coming up on August 12th from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. If you haven't received notification, please connect with us via email. We're happy to send you that information, the RSVP for it. And there you'll get a lot of information about how to register for classes. We go over the new student information page and a lot obtaining a Husky card, a lot of great information. And you have a chance to speak to advisors in your program. You'll have a chance to speak to me and Laura with any questions that you might have for that. And lastly, as what Professor Egansier mentioned, we are having our new student welcome event on Tuesday, September 9th. That's going to be from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. in the Curry Student Center Ballroom. Is going to have 30-minute info sessions, which you have seen. We're having one at 10, 10:45, and 10:30, so you can drop in, as well as a student resource fair, which is extremely exciting. You'll get to meet people from student financial services, student employment, we care, advisors as well, among a whole other different resources. So you'll be able to ask questions to them and see everybody on your own time. So we are really excited for this, and we hope to see you all there. I believe that's it.
Thank you, Kristen. And so next up, I'm going to introduce Mallory Moffat. So she is a representative from our Graduate Ambassadors Program and a current PhD student in the department. And so she'll talk through a little bit more about how to get involved and access other resources available to you.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Like you said, my name's Mallory. I'm a third-year PhD student in the chemical engineering department, and I'm the current ambassador for both chemical engineering and pharmaceutical engineering. So you can reach out to me. I have a slide later with my contact info. But the first thing I wanted to touch on is the Graduate Student Council. This is specific to our department, in which its job is to put on events for students. They can be more social events to build up that community, as well as professional development events where they pair up a lot with the comm lab, just finding better ways to communicate our research and present ourselves. This is our current e-board. On the right, all their pictures. They're really great. And apart from just the Graduate Student Council, there's also the COE PhD Council. I think we'll talk about that later. And like I said, the comm lab has a ton of different recurring events that are listed below that help with professional development as well. Apart from the department specific Graduate Student Council, if you want to get involved outside of the department as well, there's the COE PhD Council, in which they put on events for the entire College of Engineering. They have a really big care about health and wellness. So we have a weekly coffee hour that includes like coloring events and things like that. They also did a pottery event, which was super, super fun. And then, like I mentioned, there's the comm lab where they can help you with all that, especially if you're a PhD student working on applying for fellowships or working on your proposal. They can offer really great feedback on your writing. And you can even work as a writer, a comm lab fellow, and assist other students, and that's a paid position. Apart from that, there are a ton of professional orgs. The one that most students are a part of is AICHE or AICHE, but you can also look into all the other ones. Affinity groups, those are for looking for improving gender and different race and diversity groups, so you can find a sense of community within your department and within. And then some resources that I myself use. You guys already met some of the co-op coordinators. They spoke on what they can help you with. The department, or excuse me, the OGS is really great for all our international students. And then the career, I can speak personally to the career design workshops. The Canvas page is super helpful, especially for networking, teaching you how to better interact and do informational interviews, which was super helpful with that. And like I said, I'm a graduate ambassador. There's a whole team of us. So if you're interested in multiple departments, they can assist you with learning more about that or speaking directly to their personal experiences. We have a website where you could connect with all of those ambassadors. We're on WhatsApp. There are group chats for helping with housing, for asking for specific department questions. And then if the WhatsApp doesn't feel right for you, there's also like a Google form in which the students can reach out to you via email, or you can email us directly through our listserv, which is listed here. And then just a quick blurb about me. Finishing up my third year, so heading into my fourth year is a little scary, but we'll make it through. I'm originally from Chicago, but got my bachelor's at Ole Miss in biomedical engineering. So if you have any specific questions about moving from a different field into chemical engineering, I can speak on that directly of my experience with jumping into chemical engineering. And I work in Allison Dennis's lab where we focus on bioimaging, sensing, and my project's specifically looking at improving cancer imaging modalities. Yeah, I've kind of done a lot of extracurriculars. I was on the GSC, so I can speak on that. I'm the current ambassador for this, obviously. I just got certified as a yoga teacher, so I'm looking to kind of have that be a little side gig on this to meet more people. And that's my email down there if you have any questions about moving to Boston, what it's like to be a student at Northeastern or the program in general. I'm happy to answer that. And then the final thing I'm going to talk about is leaders. This is another opportunity to get working experience while at Northeastern. This is specifically for PhD students, and that's a difference between co-op and leaders. We have the first phase, which is the actual course, where you learn how to do project management, which is super key in a PhD, because basically you are project manager of yourself, potentially having some undergrads or co-ops working with you. So it's really great skill building, learning how to create a project plan, having realistic deadlines and goal setting for yourself, which is really important for making your own project. And if you just want to get those skills, you can take the class. You don't have to go on a placement, which is the equivalent of a co-op placement. You don't have to. You can just take that class and call it a day. But if you're interested in getting placed with one of the partners, you then move on to phase 2 and 3, where you will work with, they have a number of advisors through leaders, so they'll help you find placements, and then you work full-time for 4 months, or I believe you can also have some part-time positions, and then that would cover your stipend for while you're there, and then once you finish your placement, you take the final phase or the final course where you talk about, just let them know how your co-op went, and then you can get further stipend support on the back half. So that's really great in terms of if your lab kind of needs that extra support. I really suggest when you're meeting with potential advisors, if you're interested in doing a co-op or doing leaders, be really upfront with that, because most advisors are and most labs are supportive of you going and taking these opportunities to get experience. But it is a conversation I recommend you having up front if this is something you're interested in.
So thank you everyone who has helped sort of introduce their what they do and how they can help, and what their departments do. And so you can continue to connect with us, meet our faculty, of course, in advance of getting here, and follow us on social media. And at this time, we will move into Q&A. So if you have any questions for us, please put those in the chat or use the Q&A feature. We did have one question on the co-op prep course, so that was answered in chat. It can be taken both in fall and spring, and registration is always fluid. But another thing is that most typically you take the co-op course the semester before you want to go on co-op, because the co-op course will help walk you through the process for polishing everything up, working with our systems, finding jobs you want to apply for, and then doing the application and interview process. And so since you need to be on campus in the program and complete 16 semester hours before co-op, then generally you would take the co-op class in the spring semester of your first year if you want to do co-op. You can take it earlier or in a later semester if you're going to co-op beyond that third semester, but that's some notes there on the co-op course. Other notes on the co-op course, right? It is required for co-op. This is part of the Northeastern University model across all of our degree levels. And right, we're not just going to make co-op opportunities available to you, but we cultivate relationships with hundreds and hundreds of companies. And even within chemical engineering and pharmaceutical engineering, our students have worked with in excess of 100 different companies over the years. And we make it an institutionalized and process-oriented process, right? So we help prepare you for the co-op. There's reflections after the co-op and during the co-op, and lots of resources that are made available. Let's see, I don't see any other questions popping up so far, but we'll give folks another minute to get any out. Otherwise, we'll be wrapping up here if we don't have any further questions. And I would just reiterate that we are all here and excited to see you join the program, and we're all here to help you succeed. But we can't help you if you don't ask. So never be afraid to reach out and ask questions. And it's always better to ask 10 questions ahead of time than find out something after later and might become an issue. So there's a question here on wait list, but I believe Kirsten is already typing an answer there. But the idea is, yeah, go ahead, Kirsten.
Sorry, I was like in the middle of it. Sometimes it's easier to just speak on that. So, and this is not just for the co-op course, but any course that does have a wait list attached to it. If you are successful in adding yourself to the wait list, it is extremely important to continue to check your Northeastern email, as that is when you're getting all of your official notifications. That's not just for waitlists, but for any communications at the university. Because the registrar office will send you an email letting you know that is your turn to sign up for the course, and you have 24 hours from when that email is sent to when you to be able to register for the course. If you do not register for the course within that time frame, it will go to the next student on the wait list. So just continue to check it. Note that the wait list is always purged at the end of the ad drop period as well. So as soon as those dates have passed, everyone on the wait list will be dispersed. So just keep that in mind as well.
And
I'll
I would
just
also, oh, go ahead, Jake.
Sorry, I was just going to chime in. We spend a lot of time making sure that the students who need to be in the co-op course are enrolled for the appropriate semesters. So if according to your academic timeline, there's a need for you to be enrolled in the course, we do prioritize those students and make sure that everyone who needs the course is first enrolled. And then there are always seats available after that. But there are priority for students who, according to where they are in their academic progress, we make sure those students are enrolled when they need to be.
And I'll just add a general note on wait lists. So it is possible for courses to fill up. And if they have, if you look at a course, especially one that you need to take to progress in your degree, and it's full, putting yourself on the wait list helps communicate to the departments that there are more students that want to get in and take this class than we had space allocated. Sometimes we're able to raise our registration caps on courses if the classroom space physically allows more students, or we can try and find new classrooms to handle a higher cap, or potentially add sections for courses. And so that's again goes back to, check back. If you have something, of course, especially that filled up really fast and has a bunch of people on the wait list, there's a reasonable chance that the cap will be bumped or another section will become available. And if you are, needing to find out information on whether or not that might happen sooner than later, you can always reach out to the department that is offering that class. So any chemical engineering course, for example, you can ask me about, I think some of our core courses, even for our master's students this fall, I think last time I looked, we're close to the cap. So we'll probably bump that cap up proactively, or if we haven't already, then just remind us that we need to do that.
And I can just sort of add on to that too. Like, as I mentioned in answering another previous question, like registration is extremely fluid. What happens, especially in academic classes, students who might be trying to go on co-op have proactively signed up for courses in case they are unsuccessful. And if they are successful in securing co-op, they'll obviously drop the classes because you're not able to take courses at that time. But that way, like just keep in mind that there's going to be times where all of a sudden spaces might open up in classes for various reasons.
And I would also add one more thing for registration in general. Register sooner than later. All right. Again, for those reasons I just talked about, the space could fill up. If it's a required course, we're usually going to try and find some way for you to be able to take that course. But again, if you're not registered, if it's not on the wait list, then we get that information later than we could have, and then it becomes more difficult for us to adapt and accommodate a lot of people wanting to get into a course. For our PhD and master's student courses that are required core courses in chemical engineering and pharmaceutical engineering, these are graduate-only courses, so only graduate students by default can enroll in them. However, our elective courses, any 5,000 level courses, the undergraduate students can also enroll in those as technical electives. So if you see an elective course you want to take, or any 5,000 level course you want to take, then again, you want to reserve your spot in that sooner than later. Yeah, and there was a question on scholarships for MS students. So in general, MS programs at Northeastern University are not funded programs. So it's very, very rare to be on a TA or RA position as a master's student. Sometimes it can happen. Usually when it does, is someone might get put on an RA, and that might happen as a result of already being working with a research advisor. They have grant funding aligned with your research, and they want to especially move you into the PhD program, and they might appoint you then to an RA. And everyone that's admitted to any of our programs automatically goes through a screening process for all of the scholarships that we do have available on campus through either the College of Engineering or the department. So you should have already been notified of that. There are also a lot of third-party scholarships from either your home countries or third-party institutions that you might consider. And again, as it was pointed out, Student Financial Aid Services has a lot of information on their websites about where to look. It's also possible to, it's a little trickier for international students, but it's also possible to work part-time while you're pursuing a master's degree. And there are, for domestic students, work-study programs even that might be applicable to master's degree programs or master's students, as well as jobs on campus. And so there's an on-campus job search panel, and you can ask any of us really for links to that, or just Google it online. So typically when you are incoming or on campus, you can look and apply for jobs on campus. For example, the chemical engineering department, we hire some of our own students, usually on work-study funding, sometimes not, to do things like help us run our office. Let's see, do we have any additional questions? Again, we'll have our graduate student orientation upcoming the day before classes start in the fall, so make sure to attend that. And then any other questions that come up along the way, please reach out to any and all of us. If you're not sure, hey, I should ask this person or that person, just put us both on the email, and that's fine too.
Great. Thank you so much, everyone, for answering all of those questions. I think that's the end of our questions today, so we can definitely wrap up if that's all right with you, Adam. But I just also want to say thank you so much for everyone for joining today. Thank you again to our panelists for joining. Thank you both Kirsten and Jake for answering questions in the Q&A. That's very helpful to us. And like Adam said, if you have any questions, do feel free to reach out to any one of us, and we're happy to help you. And we're very excited to see you when you arrive here in the fall. So with that, we can end the webinar and have a great rest of the day, everybody. Bye, everyone.
Bye.